Hi everyone. I think we have the biggest news today. So we are starting the session with the biggest news. I think the Biden wins, and it just got elected, and every on all the social media, I'm just seeing that news that Joe Biden is like the new president of United States of America. So I think this is the biggest news of US today. So here we are today with our third session, and the third session today is with our new mentor, who is Edward. He's actually working as a marketing product manager at Microsoft with 4+ year of experience into retail as well as marketing and product side. So today we are with him today. His experience, going to tell you more about how he got into Microsoft, what was the pain points, what was his journey, how he cracked the interviews, how and what should your resume should look like, how he can help you. Please go ahead, put your questions in the chat box, please comment, and we are happy to answer anything. And also let us know, like, if you need any other help, we are also there to help you. So over to you, Edward. Edward, I think you're muted.
Of course, we're in the virtual space. Someone else can do it. Yeah, my name is Edward DePello. I'm a product marketing manager for Microsoft. I've been in this role for almost about 4 months now. And prior to that, I was working for the Microsoft stores as a product advisor for them. And really, a lot of you are probably asking, what does a product marketing manager do? I think the best way to really describe that, you get a lot of different answers, but I think the core of it is really being that bridge between what engineer is building, what they're creating in features or designs, or just the idea of a product, and how do we best serve that to our customers, and how do we make sure their needs and their requirements are being met. In some ways, we're the voice of the customer, and we're also the translator of the engineers. And that's kind of where my role gets placed into, which is really cool because I don't have to be a subject matter expert. I don't have to be the super technical person. I just have to have a little bit of knowledge of that, but have a lot of knowledge of the customer needs, which is really what product marketing is. So move on to the next slide here.
So this is great to hear from you, and we would love to hear more.
Yeah, for sure. So the way my kind of career started was like Nikita was saying, I was in the retail stores for 3.5 years. I was the person that you come in and would greet you, show you off some demos of the devices, would kind of talk to you about what Office is, what Surface is, what Xbox is as well. A lot of, the different core hero products we had. And for the first year, I was really that guy. And then as kind of time progressed, my second year, I was like, I want to learn more about our community, how to run events, how to drive, engagement and interactions with people and create fans outside of just selling them stuff. And then like my third year, I became, well, I want to learn more about small business. How are we, interacting with businesses in our area? How are we ensuring they drive usage and consumption of the products we sell to them? That back end part of the process, not just the selling part. And for me to be able to play all these different hats while I was in the stores, it gave me a lot of unique experiences to showcase to a marketing organization, because I might have not been a marketer, or I never did marketing in my job or in college, but the way I went about my work, the way I thought about ideas, the way I approached them and was curious, it was like, hey, you have the mindset of a marketer. You just don't know it yet. And that was huge for me. Because, like I said, I got a BA in Management Informational Systems at the Washington State University, Vancouver. And yeah, I got a BA in MIS, which was more like a tech business side, but I actually started in computer science for 2.5 years. And I always make the pun, I was probably the most challenged business major out there, because I got through all the weed out classes like Calc 1 through 3, Python, data structures, Java, C+. I got through all these coding classes and, the logic behind coding, and then I swapped to business. So I do have a technical sense of things, which really helps with marketing, because sometimes people don't. And I like being able to pick up on that technical side a lot faster. So that kind of makes me a little bit more unique as a marketer too, because not every marketer knows how to code or knows about the tech side. And then finally, I'm a part of an MBA cloud marketing on-ramp program. So my job really is a 1-year program that rotates around different teams in cloud marketing. So my first rotation was in this kind of lead funnel machine learning engine we have. And I was able to help with how we target and measure engagement of SMB accounts across all our markets in the world. And now I'm currently working in Azure marketing and working on a specific product and service to help deploy it to a certain audience. Can't go too much in details, but that's kind of the concept is I'm trying to understand how do we make this audience love this product and what is the best way to show that?
I mean, this sounds really great because obviously I myself have always heard about marketing manager. I've never heard about product marketing manager. I think this sounds really great and awesome job basically, and it's a mixture of both product as well as the marketing side. So it's great to hear from you, and we would love to know that how you got into it, how you cracked the interview, and what was the process in Microsoft.
Yeah, of course. So we can kind of move on here. And this overview will kind of tell you that story because, I'll talk a little bit about the culture, not too much. And then, my interview experience. How was my time trying to get into Microsoft like?
Yep.
It's a good learning experience because one time I got in, and one time I didn't get in. The first time I tried, I didn't get in and I got really close.
Mm-hmm.
But really, if you're looking into Microsoft, you do got to know the culture a little bit because like anyone will say, you're joining a company not because the money, I mean, maybe a little bit for money, but really you're joining it because it has a great culture. It's a company that will grow you, that will develop you. And a few things, the really key words here is, Microsoft wants you to be a learn-it-all, not a know-it-all. And that's a hard thing for me. Like I said, I was a CS major. I thought I had to know everything. I had this technical mindset where I need to just know. And now being in this rotation in this program as a marketing manager, I've learned that I'm never going to know everything. Everything's changing. I'm going to be on new teams with new assets, with new like things are always moving. So there's no point in being a know-it-all. But one thing you do have to be a learn-it-all. Ask questions. Don't feel scared to like have your pride shut down. And I'm speaking from someone who goes through this. Be willing to ask questions and be vulnerable to people because they want you to learn. They don't want to waste time. The more time you waste, that's more money. Become curious. Look at something that's already made and maybe build on top of it. Microsoft's really big about impacting our customers with work we've already done. Why make something from zero if someone's already made it somewhere else? Be curious. Be like, oh, I love the way you did this. I love the way you did this over here. Let's combine these processes and make something really great. So it's really having that curious mindset and out of the box. And then really just network and learn about different roles. They want you to know what's out there. We have a cool thing at Microsoft called Discovery Day, where we get to go to all different teams in our organization and learn what they're doing and ask them questions. Because maybe you don't love what you're doing at Microsoft for a few years and you want to swap out, you can do that. Like if I don't like product marketing, maybe I'm going to go into like a product manager role and just focus on a single product forever and be more of like the engineering side of it. So Microsoft's really great about just having a curious mindset. And that's one thing, Satya, our CEO, really looks for an employee. He even said that, a curious mindset. If you're curious, you're going to be successful here. So my interview experience was definitely unique. It's very similar to what many of you would go through. However, I applied internally to the Microsoft stores. So like Nikita said, I was in the retail side for 3.5 years. And the 2 times I kind of got really close to a job was through the Microsoft stores. And each time you had this 30-minute phone interview. And that phone interview is really critical because they have 30 minutes to know who you are, make a connection with you, and be like, okay, you move on.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an elevator pitch. You can't they can't ask you a lot of questions to get to know you. Mm-hmm. So for me, this interview was great because what I said was, I'm gonna really think about what are the top 2 experiences that I am in love with. Like when I talk about it, like people get excited. People think, oh my God, you did that? How'd you do that? Like, what'd you learn from it? So it's really big to when you're like going to interviews, have like a little like bucket of just really great stories, but have those like really 2 that like everyone's loved to hear. And for me, that story was about like an adaptive controller for accessibility. I built like a campaign in our store around using it and demoing it and teaching others how to use it. And like no other person that got interviewed probably said that story. So that makes me stuck out so much faster. And also being able to know your weaknesses, like know your weaknesses, but know how those weaknesses have led to strengths in the future, or how your working make those strengths. Like at least you identify your weaknesses and how you're trying to overcome it, because that's huge too. Because we're not perfect, Don't come in here thinking I have to only show my best self. They're gonna get all of you, so they want to know about all of you. The one-on-one interview for the role I did get was with the program lead. So this was actually my manager now, which was kind of crazy because I think I was the only one that got interviewed by the manager. Don't know why, but that was a really new conversation because he really wanted to challenge me and see where have I struggled. And that's the funny part. We get so fixated again on the great parts we do. He wanted to know, where did you have a hard time with your teams? Where did you have a tough time with feedback from a customer? When did you not meet the needs of someone? When did you really let yourself down? But how did you overcome that adversity and become a better employee, become a better person for our customers, and become a better, made yourself better? And that was a good learning experience for me, because in my first interview, I just talked more about my passion and how passionate I'm just about like sales, and like I make good numbers, and pretty much reading my resume. But that was so wrong to do, because he already knew my resume. What he cared about was saying, have you applied these practices, your experiences to your next role? How will you? We like to see the past because it predicts the future. So that's what you're trying to see. And then the 4 one-on-one interviews with the marketing directors, and these were directors across cloud marketing. They weren't just in like one product group or one, specific department in cloud. It was like across, like some people in business planning, some people in business applications, some people who was a director of business operations, like different people who are, very important in the company. And they all had different questions. Some of them were more curious about, a time that I was able to drive a campaign. What's an example when you try to drive a product of ours? How would you compare our product to Salesforce? What would you change? Have you been curious about our products, and have you been questioning them? Some of them ask me very blunt questions. What's bad marketing? What is bad marketing? Like, these are questions that, and that's why you should always be curious about what's out there in the marketing world or in the product world. Like, you don't have to be an expert, right? But at least be curious, have some knowledge, read about them, read about them on Twitter. If there's an article about something interesting, like keep your head very open to different ideas in the tech space, because just having a little bit of knowledge about them can go a long way, because that says a lot about your personality. Those interviews were really great because they're more organic conversations. They weren't like back and forth. What it really was me telling a narrative about a time I did something and building off it. And all the stuff I said in those narratives answered the questions they had on their sheet. So when they asked me, tell me a time about collaboration, well, my story said that. Tell me a time when you took initiative and led a team. Well, my story that I just told you said that. Like literally, my manager said, well, we didn't get through all the questions, but you answered all the questions in your answers. So just know, like, it doesn't have to be that back and forth. What it can be is you can really sell yourself in all these narratives really well. Do you have any questions, Nikita, about the experience a little bit more? Was that good?
Yeah. I mean, this is amazing to know, like how you applied and internally through the Microsoft stores. And I think this is really awesome thing that internally you applied, you saw this opportunity, and then they called you, and you kind of had like definitely like so many interviews and you cracked each of them. But I would love to know like a little bit about like in the all the 4 interviews which you had, like one-to-one interviews with the marketing directors, they were more inclined towards the marketing side or the product side, or they were like a mix of both of these? Like how did you prepare, or what was your focus basically?
Yeah. So we were a little bit of product side. Like I said before, it was really about knowing a little bit about it. So let's question about dynamics. Asking what would you change in dynamics? What would be the first thing you think about? And the reason why I was able to answer that question is because I got to use dynamics at work a little bit. I got to play with it when we enter leads. And there were some things in dynamics where I was like, I don't like this user experience here. I don't like how crowded this is. I can't find the best features because I'm crowded by so many, of things I don't use. Is there a way to like make the experience much smoother? And I told him, I was like, user experience for me would be the first thing I would change. So that was a little bit of like knowledge, but it wasn't a lot. It was just like me as a customer, I might not have a lot of knowledge, but I know what I need. And that was big because if you're able to address that as a marketer, our customers they're not knowledgeable of what we're doing. It's our job to teach them through our marketing. And then in terms of like the business side, I think that's really big. You know,
Mhm.
have have examples of like how did you do marketing in some way or form. It hasn't have to be like a full campaign, but how did you take some marketing practices, leading a campaign, leading a demo, driving usage of something, simplifying a process and training it to others and getting people acceptance on it. That's marketing. You're trying to get people engaged and interactive with something you're doing. That's marketing in the sense. So those type of scenarios are huge to showcase because it's like if you can do what you're doing here, I can
Mhm.
take you and put you in our team and mold you based off the way you approach problems and make you a really good marketer. So like I said, I was not a marketer, but I had a lot of projects. I did a
Mhm.
lot of things to like help my team and train them, learn from them, get feedback from them, fail, re-engage, try again, successful, and then continue using it.
Got it. Yep. I think this sounds great, and I think our audience can learn a lot from this experience in terms of how to prepare, how to crack what they generally ask for this particular role. I think this
Mhm.
is really great for people to learn.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a useful skill. So here's some like kind of tips and tricks. I've talked a lot about my interview process, and I kind of want to showcase the way I approached my experiences and kind of the best way to really you know make interviews easy. That's kind of the fun part about interviews for me is they're stressful, but when I'm in the interview, it's so much fun. Like my mentor right now for my projects and stuff, I got put on his team for the first project, and our interview with him, the first 15 minutes, he goes, Edward, I don't want to hear any more about like, I'm not gonna ask you questions. Like he just show me your project, show me what you did. Like he said, they sound so cool, and like it was just a fun conversation. We were laughing. He was pitching me his project and his team and what they were doing. Like he already said I'm in before I even got in. So it's like it's fun like that because if you're so passionate about your story and you can share it the best way, you're gonna become just loved by those interviewers. They're gonna want you so much more. So this is kind of where I like to start off with storytelling. A lot of people don't they get so fixated on the resume, which is great, but once you're in the interview, right, your resume isn't the most like they have it, they see it. Your best way is how do you kind of take your resume and form a really great, unique narrative that represents not only who you are as a person, but also what they're going to get out of you every day, the good and the bad, the strengths and the weaknesses. So when I always say is connect those unique experiences, whether that's a project you did or an event you led or a time that you built something and it worked or a time you built it didn't work, put those experiences with the role. What is the role looking for? Are they looking for someone who's going to work on a team and build out a project over weeks? Are they looking for someone who's going to take a product and make a campaign for it? Look at the role really and truly understand what is the type of person that they're looking for and how do you showcase yourself that you can become that person. You might not be that person right now, and that's fine. But how can you show that if you give me a chance, everything I've done so far can become that person? And that's where you showcase the diversity, the learnings, and the growth because the way you get to that point to be that person looking for is based on how you showed you grew in prior experiences. What was the learnings behind experience and how those influenced your next experience. If you did an internship at this time and you struggle with Power BI but you did some cool small stuff, that influenced your next internship that was really great and you were able to build a dashboard that helped advocate for blah 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 blah. It's like, oh wow, I see a trend. So that means if I bring you on this project, that trend's gonna keep going up, you know? And then build a story around who you are. That's one thing people forget. I had a mentee of mine who interviewed for Microsoft recently, and she was just so fixated on her like technical stuff, like the 26% this, I use this software, blah, blah. Like, she was so formal. And maybe for other companies, it's great. For Microsoft, we're looking for authenticity. So I was like, tell them about, why do you love technology? What influenced you to love technology? She's like, well, my mother in education. I was like, great. Talk about that. You're a human being. We're in COVID. We need people who are human beings. And how did that human being become this great person, this great learner, this great advocacy of technology? How did they become this person? How do we take you and make you a great marketer? And then again, align yourself with the culture, because that culture is why we want you. If you represent our culture, the learning, the obsessive of our customers, the curiosity, then we're like, okay, we want you even more. This story's great. It's all about making this narrative. And then you just practice. You structure your story, whether it's a timeline, whether it's moments in your career, whether it's, where you struggled but where you got better, whatever path you want to take. Remember what a good story is when you're a kid. It starts off like you're learning about the person. They got really close. Maybe they didn't make it, and then they achieved it. And then this is who they are today. Maybe a happy ending, right? And you really want that crescendo to be like, to keep them engaged. And this whole time you're being authentic because this is who you are. You're not lying to them. You're not telling them some just jargon to get them thinking that you're great. No, this is who you are. You're great in your special way. And that's what storytelling really is to me. And it's really important for everyone to make their stories around being authentic and who they are. I'll do the next slide here.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Some tips. That's really awesome tips, and I think they are really helpful in terms of how to prepare, what is the right direction. And I think that will really help people who are actually currently preparing for upcoming GSC conference, career conference. And I think they can take it from there, because I think a lot of companies are hiring for this particular role. So they can take all these tips from you, prepare for themselves, and I think they are good to go for their interviews.
Yeah. Remember one thing, marketing is storytelling. So if you can't storytell about yourself, why do I want you to storytell for my product? That's really what it is, unfortunately. So that's why, you start with, people who've done it. That's where I did. I talked to people who was in the program right now. I did the previous class. I asked them, what was it like? What do I need to know? How do I need to approach problems? Like, what type of really soft skills? I wasn't too worried about the hard skills, but I was like, how can my soft skills really, benefit this? Am I a marketer? Do I have the tools to be a marketer? And I talked to him. He goes, yeah, you do. And that helped build confidence, right? We need confidence when we're going through this situation. And then I was like, okay, let me look at my previous experiences. Like I said, last November, I got flown out to Washington, D.C. for a sales position for Microsoft as a sales excellence manager. And I didn't get it. And I reviewed why. I was like, why didn't I get it? I thought it great. And the reason why was I was passionate, like I am now, I love talking and stuff, but I wasn't passionate about the role. And I wasn't passionate about, I had no stories or passion about like getting good sales numbers. I had no intent with that passion, right?
Yep.
That's why I was like, create an engaging story with your experiences. Make stories that actually engage, that you find engaging, that you find exciting. Or the time that you're on a team working on some type of requirement for a product. What did you learn? Customer feedback. Who did you talk to? What were the conversations like? Were they hard at first? How'd you get better at them? Like, these are the questions you should be asking is, what made these situations really, really great for you? And how do you show them to people? And how do they align with what you're trying to do with this role? And then gain some knowledge of the product and the culture again. So again, you don't have to be an expert, but just have a little knowledge. And then they asked for me, they asked me about SQL. And I was like, oh yeah, I can talk about join and create and, distinct and count. I'm a SQL with a link to learning on it. I didn't do that at my job, but I did use it in college a little bit. And I told them about a time that we used SQL in a database relation project that we did. And I helped lead it, which I showed talk about my leading, and I helped collaborate with other people in the school. Like, see, it led to more of this stuff. And then just connect with people in the roles. So don't just connect with them for like, hey, I'm interviewing. How do I get it? No, learn the people they are. What people are in this role. What are their energy? What do they like to do? What books do they like to read? Like, get to know the person itself, because then you get an idea. I want to be like that person. I want to be kind of smart. Like, they're smart, but they're more than just smart. They're actually really like curious. I wish I was more curious. How do I become more curious? So that's really big. And you can schedule mock interviews. There's help with the FAANGPath here. I'm here. There's other mentors as well who've gone through these processes. And they know their story probably really well. They probably know who they are. And that's one thing that's really hard is figuring out who you are doesn't come overnight. You really just have to sit back and evaluate yourself critically, the good and the bad. See where you're not good at and try to fix it or work on it and show why you're working on it. And the last thing is just solidify your whole entire package. You are a product. You are selling your product. What you know, what you don't know, what you're good at, what you're not good at, what you love. You're selling this package to someone, and you need to be the best marketer or the best seller of that product because no one else knows it like you.
Yep.
So that's really key.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I think that's really awesome and great feedback and tips from you. And this sounds really exciting in terms of how you have prepared, what is required, what is not required. So it's great to learn from you, Edward.
Yeah, no, I love it. And like I said, I went from not knowing how to do this, like that big thing of like building a true narrative to knowing it. And my confidence in interviews just skyrocketed. Like I came out of my final rotational interview telling myself I should get the job. Not because I was cocky or I was like, I'm better. I was like, no. All my conversations were just so authentic and organic and natural. Like we had fun. We were laughing. Like this was not an interview. This was literally just a conversation with someone maybe I met for the first time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
now we would love to know like what happened during the interview.
Yeah. So when the interview kind of started, they try to make it, I guess, structured, right? They try to make it like, question. But for me, that's not really what I love. And I mean, maybe you do. Maybe you like being able to like do the star methods and chop and go through. For me, I really like to just have them get to know me a little bit. So like I really started just like who I am. I'm a first generation immigrant. First generation American, came here, just me and my mom, and access to education was a gift in its own. And I just talked about why am I the person I am? Why am I so passionate? Why are you so passionate, Edward? And it's because of like I'm in a great country where I can have whatever I want in this world as long as I really work hard and do my best. Even if I get tons of no's, it takes one yes. And you're that yes. That's why I'm so passionate right now. Because if I can get you to say yes, you just changed my life. So like it's really important to like let them see, you as a person. Why are you this person today? And then just be calm in any questions they ask. Be understanding the question. Be like, you're trying to figure out, the way that I solve problems. Okay, let me tell you a story about when I solved a problem. But as I tell you that story, I'm gonna kind of, make you understand why I'm really good at problem solving. It's gonna be a quick little 5-minute thing. Use a star method, but I'm really gonna like share this story as a way to make you feel engaged. Seek purpose in that question. What are they really trying to understand from you? I think when he talks about problem solving, he's trying to see, am I able to collaborate? Am I able to think outside the box? Really think about those priorities of the questions because then that helps you pull out the right story. And that's why it's so important to have tons of stories in your pocket because you pull up the right one for the right scenario and it's like a match made in heaven because he's like, wow, yes, that's right. That's what we're looking for. And that's why you be creative because you are you. No one else has your background. No one else has your experience. Whether you had everything give to you or you didn't have, or you had to work everything. We all have unique experiences and it's our job to make them enlightened, to give them energy. So be creative, be creative with the way you answer questions, make them remember you. That's the big thing. And just be honest. Because during my interviews, like when I talked about like a book I read, I talked about a biography of like a baseball player. And I talked about me as a kid playing sports and being a leader of my team and reading about this guy named Lou Gehrig who had ALS, but he played until the day he couldn't stop. And that pushes me every day to become someone that I want to just work hard every day because you just never know when that last minute's going to be. You never know when it's all going to be taken away. We take it for granted. That might not show I'm a product marketer, but that shows I'm someone who's really, really like loves the work and the grind, So it's just be creative. Don't think like about how everyone else thinks, be very creative, especially in marketing, because the more creative you are, that's great. That's what they're looking for. But that's kind of during the interview, and that was my experience. If there's any questions, it'd be great. I know we're a little bit over time, but like I'm free. I don't Saturday morning, I got nothing else to do.
No, I think it's great and great to have you and hear your story. That's really awesome. And I think definitely people who have seen your video, who are going to see your video, will definitely learn a lot in terms of how to prepare, what are the tips, how they should go ahead. So definitely we have few questions in the comment section where they wanted to ask you like, is MBA necessity to succeed for your role, or is it something without it also you can reach, or is it something like the most important stuff?
Yeah. So my program specifically, unfortunately, you do need the MBA. I don't have an MBA because of the way I came through, which is really unique. But there are product marketing roles out there that don't require an MBA. You can have an MBA. I think it's about 2 years of some type of marketing experience or product experience. It really depends on the degree of the role. Something we talked about yesterday. You could have some roles require 5 to 7 years. Some require 2 years. So it's really part of marketing is such a vague term because it really depends on the team that you're on is the degree of expertise you need. You know, that's why it's great, but you don't need an MBA. You know, it's always nice. I think I've learned in the tech industry, an MBA is always a nice thing to have in a non-tech atmosphere. I might go do an MBA in maybe a year or so. It's not required, and I do see a lot of people who just have BAs who are product marketers as well.
Got it, got it. And the other thing I wanted to ask you is data really important to learn from these interviews? Like, is it something to have, like you need to have a lot of data mindset, or you need to have a lot of data knowledge to kind of crack these interviews?
Yeah, data's great. Data's great for if you're in tech. We're going to be surrounded by data, and marketing has a lot of data. But the one thing is, don't data knowledge and data experience. Okay, you can know how to use R, SQL, Power BI, Excel, all that stuff. What's your experience using it and building something that was useful? Whether that was for a small project or team or for something bigger. You know, that's really important. Like for myself, one of my biggest projects was not very hard. It was very unique and different. What I did was I built a Power App, which is the part of our Power Platform, a low-code application that we have from Microsoft. And I built a form essentially or an experience that my team can register what events they did, how many attendees they had, what business that they trained with, for how long. And I can measure how our attendees went per account, which led to us understanding, are we successful or not successful in the amount of attention we're getting per week, and what types of trainings are really great. What type of trainings are really great. So it was a small thing like that, but that showed my ability to take data and find insight. Insights are huge for marketing. Like how is my marketing doing? Is it doing good? Is it doing bad? So data insights are really important. And data knowledge is important just to have a little bit of experience with how you touched it. So we're in tech and we do touch data.
Got it. So the next thing is like, can you please share some like quick resources for the product and the marketing side where people can go, they can learn marketing, the product side, and they can prepare actually? Because like I know that you said that storytelling is really important. You need to kind of use your live experiences, your live knowledge and everything. But still, if anyone wants to learn more about marketing, more about product side, or if they want to gain more, so do you recommend any of those, or like any suggestions?
You know, that's a good question. I think for me personally, I didn't do too much like of the resources. It was a lot more one-on-ones with people to learn about what they're doing
Mm-hmm.
and to understand how can I influence in a marketing space.
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing I would say about product, there's a lot of free resources out there. If you want to become a somewhat high level knowledge of some products that's out there, Microsoft or AWS. What I did personally was I remember I took AWS courses for their product. Not because I wanted to know AWS, but because I just wanted some knowledge of the cloud computing space because I wanted to go into cloud marketing.
Got it.
If you want to
Yep.
go to, business apps or Power Platform or Power, go learn about it, play with it, understand why do customers use it, and really use it in a marketing mindset to
Mhm.
understand like, well, this is what I don't like about the product. That's great. If you have an interview and you get the product, if they ask you what's one product that you don't like that we have, this is it because of this. This is how I would change it. This is how I would fix it. And that was actually a question I had was look at a product that we have and you don't like and how would you change it.
Mhm.
But in terms of like resources outside like for specific marketing, it really depends because I've learned that there's two sides of marketing right now. There's quantitative and there's qualitative.
Mhm.
Quantitative will be a lot of that data insights. So, like I said, if you're at a job and they're trying to get insights of how to help customers or people, build something. Even if it doesn't work and they don't use it, the experience is awesome. Or look at branding and messaging and that more stereotypical marketing part. How are you building something and raising awareness of something that you're doing or someone else is doing?
Mhm. Got it, got it. And would you like to share some resume tips, like some resume tips on product marketing in terms of what they should write, how they should? Because a lot of people these days they are saying that we are not getting interview calls at all. So, what are there some interview resume tips in terms of what they should write? What are some of those keywords, or what are things that they should kind of put in so that they get shortlisted basically and they get an interview call?
Yeah, I think the big things is focus on the impact that you have.
Mhm.
So numbers are great, numbers, but also the key verbiage, like you're saying. Did you lead? Did you drive? What did you drive? Did you drive consumption, usage, adoption? These are all big words Microsoft used. Did you lead a campaign for accessibility and lead to diversity and inclusion? D&I is huge right now in the tech industry. If you're someone who come into an organization and express diversity and inclusion in your marketing, that's big because we're still learning how to do that. And that's something I was really fortunate to have is that I built a product experience around D&I. And in
Mhm.
my resume, I was able to say, grow content development of accessibility controller, which led to an influx of blah, blah, blah. And that just shows you, okay, he took something that was D&I, built it, trained his team, and the result was it was building awareness for this community.
Got it. I think it's really great. And thanks a lot, Edward, for everything today. I
Mhm.
think a lot of people who will be going to see your video and who have or who are still seeing your video will learn a lot in terms of how to prepare, especially for Microsoft interviews and especially for product marketing interviews. And happy to connect everyone in the back end. If anyone wants any other help, we have already given like Edward's LinkedIn. You have my Instagram, and then we have our FAANGPath email, LinkedIn, and everything. So if anyone wants to reach out to us, need any help in the interview preparation, resume review, please get a time, reach out to us, and we are happy to help you in whatever way we can. So thanks a lot again, Edward, for taking out time and sharing your experience and everything with us. It's really great, and hoping to again have a great conversation and a great chat with you soon.
Yeah, anytime. Thank you so much for having me, everyone. And have
Yeah.
a good weekend.
Bye. Bye, Edward.
Cheers.